Alright, today I wanted to talk to you guys about my Vepr AK, chambered in 223-556. I just wanted to talk to you guys about it because when I was buying it, information online is kind of hard to find, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about some of the upgrades I did, some of the issues I had with it, and some of the things that worked out great, some of the things that didn't work out so great. And some things will apply to the 762 and the 545 version, and then there's some 556 specific stuff. But we'll just start at the muzzle and work our way backwards. So first, I have a Krebs 4-prong flash hider on here. In order to get the muzzle nut off, you do have to have a Dremel or some kind of tool like that. And I was able to take it off pretty successfully. I don't have any scratches on the muzzle. I didn't mess that up, which is nice. Came off pretty easy. It does have a plunger in there, for those of you wondering, so you don't have to buy one. It's already in there. And yeah, it works out great. Great flash hider. Did a lot of research on it. Lightweight, because it is a heavy rifle. But yeah, moving back, I kept the Vepr handguard, and I kept it because I tried installing standard AK furniture on here, which you can. You can get a new gas tube and install standard AK stuff. You can buy a conversion mount that lets you put standard AK handguards on there. And my issue was I cheaped out a little bit and I got the aluminum version. I would highly recommend getting the stainless steel version or the steel version. The aluminum version, even with Loctite, loosened up. I want to say it was 20 rounds in the shooting. It did not last long. It really did not work out for me. I just went to the standard one. As you can see, I did dye it to make it kind of a plum color, the AK plum color, which is kind of a purplish brown. So I did do that slight modification. I just sanded it, got some wood dye, mixed up purple, and then I used True Oil to finish it up. But yeah, I would recommend getting a stainless steel retainer if that's something you want to do. I honestly just like the look of the wood. I think it looks great. I think it's a good design, good enough design. Moving on, I modified my safety. I just took a Dremel, cut it out. Was not very hard, and then I used some bluing compound from Birchwood Casey, the same people that make True Oil, which I finished the stock in, or the handguard. They make a bluing compound that you can use on here. So I cut it out, blued it, looks great, works great, no issues. Moving on, I installed a extended mag release on here, and to me this is perfect. I know a lot of people like the regular tab. That's fine. A lot of other people like the giant honking thing that comes back into the trigger guard so you can use your finger. That's fine. I just wanted a little bit extra more, and that's exactly what this is. If you have the slightest trouble fumbling just a little bit taking mags out, this is just enough to completely get rid of that. This is absolutely perfect. And I'll leave the link to this in the description. I'll leave the link to most everything in the description that I used or modified and bought. But yeah, this worked out perfect. It comes with a screw, so you do not have to you don't have to mushroom out a pin to get that in there. You don't need a roll pin to mushroom. You can take yours out, which was fairly easy. Plenty of videos online showing how to do that. But yeah, this was easy. put some Loctite on it. You can, if you want, you can go back to your old release and keep using the screw. It's worked out great so far. It's still working, and I like it. The other thing you have to do before I get too far back to the 223 Vepr, and I believe the 545, maybe the 762, is you have to install a bullet guide. And I'll show you that in a little bit more detail after I take it apart, but don't forget about that one. We'll come back to it. Another thing I installed, obviously I went with plum colored furniture. Was kind of the old school AK style plum pistol grip. And I got this at Midway USA, and it matches the Magpul color of plum perfect. I had the Magpul handguards, like I said, they didn't work out, but yeah, the pistol grip matches the plum exactly. And this is from a different company as well. I believe it's Arsenal. Not 100% on that, but I will put a link in the description and you guys can check that out. Moving back, I decided to get the MOE AK stock for this. Now I wanted to get this stock because I was going to put optics on it. If you're a fan of the AK Operators Union channel, you know that Rob Ski likes the Primary Arms 3X prism scope, and I think it's great. I bought one, and I'll show it to you guys in a second here, but I think it's great, works out great. But like I said, I bought this because I needed a cheek riser. I didn't want to put an AR stock on it. I kind of wanted it to look not like an AR. Just, you know, it's an AK. Let's keep it an AK. The MOE AK stock looks kind of traditional a little bit, you know, kind of the triangle stock look going a little bit. Also, it does have storage for the cleaning kit and maintenance kit. I've seen a lot of people try and put this in up here, and they say, oh, it almost fits, it almost fits. It doesn't quite fit. It's a little wider down here. Fits perfect right there. Just so you guys know in the future, works out great. Alright, another thing that we need to talk about is the receiver conversion to take AK stocks. I bought this from Carolina Shooter Supply, which I also got the mag release from, but I'll put that in the description. But yeah, I got this from Carolina Shooter Supply, and because the receiver is a little bit thicker on the inside, you do need to shave down the stock a little bit. As you can see, it's got a slight little gap right there. There's a maybe hair gap right here. Everything's held together. Well, not everything, but the conversion piece is held in with your grip screw, which you will need a longer grip screw. The one that comes with it's too short. But yeah, it's a little thinner. Honestly, I was a little worried about how it was going to hold up. Holds up perfectly fine. I can pick it up from the stock, hit the stock into things, put it down onto the stock. It's locked up in there tight. And yeah, it uses the two screws in the tang, the rear tang, to attach. I have had zero issues with this. Worked out great. Like I said, this piece has been working out great. No issues. And let's move on to one more piece here on the outside. I have installed the ALG AKT enhanced trigger, I believe it is. I know they used to have 3 versions. Now they're down to 2 versions. This is the one that's not nickel boron coated. This is just the standard one, and it is phenomenal. It is a great trigger. I did a little bit of modification to the safety. I know you know, ALG wants you to modify the trigger. They do have a pin that it comes with, but the safety was actually too big. So without even putting that pin in, and you know what I'm talking about if you look up the reviews for this trigger. but without putting the pin in, the safety wouldn't work. So I had to cut the safety down just a little bit. You can see works fine on safe, not going off, barely moves, really tight fit. And yeah, I figured I'd modify the safety because these are cheap. I mean, you can get a regular one for probably around 20. You can get them expensive Krebs triggers for like, or safety levers for like 50. Yeah, I figured it was fine to modify this instead of trying to modify the trigger and the geometry with that. But yeah, it works great. Super light trigger. I mean, I'll show it to you real quick. Gun's empty. I checked it like 10 times. Don't worry. But yeah, it's such a great trigger. Just the slightest bit of take up, and then it breaks. It's so clean. But yeah, locks up tight. Good trigger. Great investment. I mean, the other one's fine. The original stock trigger is fine, but this one is so much better. It's not even comparable. All right. Let's move on to the inside. I'll show you guys some of the stuff I did in there. It's not really anything crazy, but might as well talk about it. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys that bullet guide in there. I know it's kind of dark and hard to see, but you can see there's a little screw right there, right before the barrel. You do need to put that in order to accept the high capacity magazines. And I'll go over which magazines work for this gun in a second, but yeah, it's fairly easy. Threading it's kind of a pain. Drilling it out was fine. But yeah, threading it is just a huge pain. Not that big a deal, but it does take, it takes quite a while. And when you buy a gun that's, I believe I got this for $700 before the ban. I got it for about $700. You know, drilling into a $700 gun never really feels that comfortable. But yeah, that's the bullet guide. I think I might have called it a bullet button. It's not a bullet button, it's a bullet guide. But yeah, there it is. Pretty easy to install. They're fairly inexpensive as well. Like I said, I'll put a link down below. And then we'll move on to the optics rail. We'll talk about the optics rail next, and then the magazine. Alright, let's talk about this optics rail. So like I said, when I got the gun, I wanted to get that primary arms 3X prism scope, and here it is. I have the Midwest Industries Gen 2 mount for the ACOG. That's how it mounts up, with an ACOG mount. And I got this. I mean, you can get the pick rail and then get another ACOG mount and mount this to that, and then mount that to the pick rail, and I suppose you'd have a little bit more adjustability with eye relief, but to me this is fine. I don't even have it on the furthest back setting. There's maybe about a ½ inch further back that you can put it. So I mean, there's enough adjustment, I think, with this mount, and obviously you can move it forward probably about an inch, maybe 1.25 inches, something like that. But yeah, it's a great scope. Pretty good for the money. The only thing I would warn you about with this is you really got to tighten down these screws. If you look up online, that is something that a lot of people have issues with. Not really issues, but you know, it's a problem when you think you crank them down, you put Loctite on it and everything, take it to the range and it shoots loose. Well, that's what happened to me. Thought I cranked it down, definitely put Loctite on it, and it loosened up just as I got the rifle zeroed. So I think it was maybe 20 rounds in or something like that. But yeah, also a good thing about this combination is that when I went to go zero, it did shoot on paper that first shot. It was just a little bit off. So, you know, I was zeroing it at 75 yards. That was the maximum the range had, So that's where I tried zeroing it, and I brought the paper back in, and I was like, why does this group look 10 inches big? Move the mount around. Well, there's your issue. So I tightened it down even harder, put even more Loctite on it, blue Loctite. And yeah, hopefully it works now. And finally, we'll talk about the magazine. This is probably the worst part of this rifle. The magazines work fine, but there's only one kind of magazine you can use, and it happens to be the most expensive AK magazine on the market, you know, except for the Russian ones. And that's the Circle 10 223 556 magazines, which you would use in the Bulgarian rifles like the SLR 106 and all those variants. Locks up fine, locks up perfect. No issues with that. Not a lot of wobble. It's pretty tight in there, which is good. And also, when you get this mag release, you will have to adjust it to the magazine, which I think is a good thing. It allows you to get a really tight lockup, which is really nice. The magazines that come with it are a 5 round and a 10 round, I believe. And so jumping up to 30 rounds and having to swap this out, to me, is a big pro. You know, this is 3 times the amount that you can use when you get the thing in the beginning. So, but just be wary. Circle 10 223 Bulgarian mags, as far as I know, are the only ones that will work. Some people say you can use barrel mags. Some people say you can't. Some people say they've modified Galil mags. Other people say you can never modify a Galil mag. It just won't work. But yeah, that being said, these work perfectly fine. Like I said, they're a little pricey. That's the only issue with them. But, you know, like, you're paying for the quality. They are some of the best AK mags out there. Alright, just wanted to give you guys one shot real quick of what the rifle looks like put together fully. The Midwest Industries mount does come up a little bit. I shoot left-handed rifle. It's not an issue. I know it looks like it might be. It's really close to that trigger guard. I honestly can't feel it at all. I don't notice it at all. But this is what the whole rifle looks like. Sorry I'm zoomed in so much, but limitations of filming. But yeah, it's a great rifle, and we'll finish out the video. Alright, so wrapping this video up, trying to think if I forgot anything. Don't think I did. I think I went over everything pretty well and comprehensive when I put the rifle together. The only thing I think I might have forgotten is that the muzzle is threaded for 14 by 1 left hand. But that is a very common AK threading, so that shouldn't be an issue. And that's probably why I forgot to mention it. But yeah, otherwise the guns run flawlessly. And I will give one last warning to new AK owners. This was my first AK. Don't buy a buffer for your AK. They will break and they will cause malfunctions, and you'll be wondering what's going on with your gun. Well, that's what's wrong with it, the buffer. So I bought a buffer for this. It was like $8. Turned out to be garbage. You know, you look online, people say, oh yeah, they work great, they reduce recoil, and then when they break, they cause malfunctions, and you got to put a new one in, and it's not worth it. Because what if you need the rifle and then your buffer breaks? Well, then you're screwed. So skip the buffer. It was designed without a buffer. Obviously there's some short action ones that have a buffer, and not Veprs but other AKs that need to use a buffer, that's fine. If it's a full-size AK, it should not need a buffer, and you should not be putting one in there because they just suck. That's just my opinion. You can have your own, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't more than 300 rounds and the thing broke, and it's rated for 3,000 rounds. So there's that. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something. I know when I was building this, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I'll post all the resources that I used in the description. Two huge resources that you can use are Dinzag Arms and Carolina Shooter Supply. I went with Carolina Shooter Supply just because they had the mag release I wanted, and the bullet guide, whereas Dinzag only had the bullet guide, and I didn't want to have to pay for shipping to 2 different places. This one works fine. I'm sure theirs works fine as well. But yeah, I'll post everything in the description, because it took me quite a while to find out what works on here and what doesn't work on here, and I just want to make it easier for anyone who's trying to purchase one of these rifles, either in 223 or 545. I think those have the most conversions that you have to do to them. But yeah, just to help you guys out, let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to respond to them. Also, I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of comments on the long nails. I play classical guitar. These nails aren't long. These nails are. That's it. Get over it. But yeah, there's nothing crazy going on there, guys. I got a lot of comments on my last video. Kind of funny, kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Alright guys, have a good day, and buy a Vepr while they're still around.